In our last video we looked at phonology, phonological inventories and phonotactics. In this video we'll be looking at how to actually apply phonological changes in a way which is naturalistic. We'll begin by looking at what's known as a phonological rule. This is shorthand for writing out the sound changes which we'll be exploring in this video. We firstly have unconditioned rules, where the arrow means that the first sound becomes the second sound, so that p becomes b irrespective of its environment. We then have conditioned rules where the conditions are specified after the forward slash, so that here p would only become b between vowels. The underscore shows where the affected sound comes in its environment. We also have special markers for word boundaries, represented by hash or dollar symbols, so that here p becomes b after a word boundary, as well as curly brackets to demonstrate that multiple sounds, p and t, will change into b. Optional environments are included in normal brackets, such that p becomes b at the start of a word even if there's a vowel in front of it, and exceptions to the rule are specified after a double forward slash, such that p becomes b at the start of a word unless there's a consonant which follows it. I appreciate this is a lot to absorb, so please do refer to the slide if any of the later shorthand in this video proves confusing. There are two broad categories of sound change: syntagmatic, which affects singular instances of sounds, and paradigmatic, which affects larger groups of sound segments. Let's begin with syntagmatic. There are four main types of syntagmatic sound change. Assimilation is the process of one sound adopting the characteristics of a sound next to it, such as the change between Proto-Indo-European and Proto-Celtic, where p became b before r and l, because p adopted the voicing of r and l to become b. The second type of change is dissimilation, where the sound becomes less like the sound next to it. So Proto-Norse p became f before t and k. Here the voiceless plosive p became a voiceless fricative f, further dissimilating itself from the voiceless plosives t and k. Dissimilation is far more rare a process than assimilation, but in both the sound change may either be affected by the sound after it, in which case it is known as progressive, or affected by the sound before it, in which case it is regressive. The third type of change is sound insertion, as in English buses, where an epenthetic comes between the two alveolar fricatives s and z. The final type is sound deletion, as in English handbag, where the first of two plosives is deleted. So why do these changes occur? One of the most important influencing factors for sound change is where the sound, and the sounds around it, sit within a sonority hierarchy. Sonority is a measure of how loud a sound is, and different sounds have different loudnesses, or different sonorities. A is louder than k, so we would say that A is more sonorous than k. Here's another way to lay out a sonority hierarchy with each sound like steps on a stair. Sounds may become more sonorous in a process called lenition, and we can see common examples of lenition where stops become fricatives, and where fricatives become approximants. Non-nasals may become nasals, and voiceless sounds may become voiced. Fortition is the opposite process of sounds becoming less sonorous, such as in English where the oral stop t becomes a glottal stop between vowels. When in doubt about applying sound changes, this change in sonority could be thought of as the guiding principle behind sound change. Here are some examples from the Berezny languages. For assimilation, we see Berezny feor m has become n in Fidasan before s, where m has assimilated to the place of articulation of s. Insertion in Nivier of an epenthetic d between n and r. Deletion going from narasse to agere, where an unstressed vowel disappeared at the end of a word. Lenition, where stops became fricatives going from Fidasan to Nivier, such that p to k became f to ch. Non-nasals becoming nasals, between Berezny feor and Therekke, where the pre-voiceless stops became geminates between vowels. Voiceless sounds becoming voiced, such that Fidasan's voiceless fricatives were voiced in Nivier between vowels. And finally, fortition of the oral stop q in Liriane Curio to the glottal stop a in Berezny feor. Differences also occur along two general parameters, quality and quantity. Let's begin with some qualitative changes for consonants. These might include a change in voicing of a consonant from voiceless to voiced, or in place of articulation, such as palatalization in the presence of front vowels, or in manner, as in the process of rhotacism where alveolar sounds commonly shift to r. Moving on to quantitative changes, these might include gemination where a consonant is doubled, simplex when a double consonant is shortened, or loss of a consonant altogether. Vowels may similarly undergo a change in their quality, such as to their height, frontness, or roundness. Additionally, quantitative changes to vowel length may occur, A long vowel might shorten, or lengthen while assimilating another sound in a process known as compensatory lengthening. A singular vowel, known as a monophthong, might break into two vowels and become a diphthong, or the opposite might occur as the diphthong becomes simpler by undergoing monophthongization. Additionally, the vowels e and u are very prone to becoming the glides y and w. We can see a few examples of these changes in the Berasne languages as well, which you might want to pause to further digest. Now that we have looked at instances of a single sound, we can look at how sound change affects entire segments of sounds, either as syllables or across syllables. This table illustrates rather simply that sounds can be either added to or lost from segments either at the beginning, middle, or end of a word. Addition to the beginning of a word is prothesis, to the middle is epenthesis, and to the end is paragogy. Deletion from the beginning is aphyresis, from the middle is syncope, and from the end is apocope. Additionally, two sounds might swap places with each other in a process known as metathesis, as in the Old English waps, which became the modern English wasp. Notice here how ps has become sp, possibly because s is more sonorous than p, so matches the vowel closer in terms of sonority and moves closer to it. A sound can also be reduplicated. Additionally, if two words merge with the same syllable repeated, one of those syllables might disappear in a process called haplology. It should be noted that all of these changes can occur across word boundaries in a process known as sandhi. Once again, here are some examples from the Berasne languages to pause on. Now that we've done the instances of sounds and segments, let's move on to changes in entire phonological groups. As it affects phonemes, paradigmatic change can be triggered by a loss of the conditioning environment which caused the change to occur in the first place. There are two possible results from this change. The first is a phonemic split, where a sound undergoes a change in some environments, but not others, resulting in two separate phonemes, as in changes from Old English to Modern English, where k became ch before a front vowel, and in some cases the front vowel which conditioned the change was lost. Another type of shift is a shift plus a merger, in which a phonemic split occurs and one of the phonemes merges with an already existing phoneme, as in Latin, where s became r between vowels, but r already existed as a phoneme, as opposed to our previous example, where Old English k became ch, but Old English did not already have the sound ch. Another type of shift is a chain shift, where many sounds are affected one after the other as a result of one change. Have you ever wondered why, when we learned the alphabet song in school, a is a is e, and e is I? It's because in English all vowels underwent raising or diphthongization as part of a chain shift a few hundred years back. So what used to be e is now pronounced I. And that's it for this video. In the next video we're going to be looking at evolving derivational morphology.